Welcome back to Dalra Models. So this video I'm going to be working on the chassis components and wheels for the Ferrari 812 Superfast. So I'll start off with the brake assembly with the resin pieces being removed from the tree or fret or whatever you call it. So using a photo etch saw there just to get rid of those. So once I got the first one done, then I can whiz through the other three. So I won't bore you showing all of those, so I'll just skip straight to the last one, just like that. So just get that one off quickly. So once they're all off, then I can just give those a quick sand just to get rid of the rough edge that the saw blade has left behind. And then after that's all done, a quick wipe down of the desk with a damp cloth just to get any residue from the resin gone, because the last thing you want to do is leave any of that around and end up breathing it in. So that's all my bits ready now. So next bit is to remove the plastic protective cover off the photo etch. So I tend to prefer to only remove the bits for the pieces that I'm about to use and leave the rest of them in place, just so that they've got a still bit of protection there. And then once that's gone, I can come in with a sharp knife and just cut on the nibs of each of the parts where they're attached. So whiz through those really quickly again. And it was around this point where I noticed the numbering is slightly off with the instructions. So if I have a quick look here, you've got a few pieces there that are duplicated. So you've got 36 twice here. Which don't correspond to these, so I had to have a little bit of thinking as to what pieces go where and where the instructions were missing. So just doing 4 at a time to start with, so the 2 front ones, and then just file those remaining nibs off the edges. They can be quite sharp and you can risk cutting yourself on those, which you obviously don't want to do. Plus they will still be visible at the end, which won't look very good, so yeah, you want to get rid of those. So once they're all gone on all 4 of those pieces, I can move on to doing the other 4. So again, I'm just doing this so that I can keep them separate and know where I'm at and what's going on with them. So same again, just get rid of all these little nibs that are on the edges there. So once I finish sanding, I just check with my finger on the edge just to make sure that I've got it all. And then moving on to my cheap super glue that I got off eBay, because I don't need anything fancy for this bit, I can start applying it to the discs. So I'll start off with one of the front ones, and just a small amount's needed on this because it does have quite a good bite on this glue, so it's not going to go anywhere. So if I can pick that first piece up, if it doesn't keep running away from me, there we go, get it in the end, and then I can attach that. So starting with the front facing disc, I've just rolled it in my fingers just so that any sides that, well, basically it makes it even all the way around, so there's no bits that stick out more than another as you go around the circumference. So moving on to the second side now, same again, try and pick the disc up, it doesn't want to come off my desk, but get there in the end, and then same again, just roll into my fingers just to centralise it. Give it a good squeeze, make sure the glue spreads out inside and it's all stuck down properly. And there we go, the first disc done. So whiz through the next lot really quickly, so that's the final one now. And then they're all done. So I'm just giving it a good squeeze again, make sure that it's not going to go anywhere, and then once they're all done I can move on to the other bits, which is some centre parts that go inside of them. So again, same again, just run through quickly with a knife, just getting rid of all of those bits and getting them off the fret. So I think that was the last one. So these are a little bit of a difficult shape to sand, you have to be careful that you don't bend them or twist them or break them as you're doing this. So I've sanded these off camera, and then this is my process for doing them, is just to whiz round quickly with a pair of fine tweezers, just bending those up 90 degrees just to get them started. So once they're all bent to 90 degrees, then just a tiny little bit of glue is needed just on the inside edge of each of them, and then same tweezers again just to bend it down. So unfortunately my camera didn't want to focus at this point, which I didn't pick up on, so apologies for that, but hopefully there you go, it's just about see it in focus. So same again, just go around a few more. There you go, it does focus occasionally. As you can see, I'm just doing a couple at a time as I'm going around here, because I don't want to go too mad with it and end up with the glue drying before I get a chance to put it down, especially if you have one that doesn't quite bend as you want it to. So 4 of those need doing with however many of those tabs need bending over. So again, I'm not showing all of that on camera, I'll just whiz through all of those quickly. So then I can move on to attaching them. So these are the first bit that get attached. So anyone that has a keen eye might notice that those discs have been sanded. So I actually put them in my Dremel very quickly and just gave them a quick spin with a diamond file attached or touching the edge of it, just to give it a bit of a key. So I don't know after paint how much of that's going to be shown, but yeah, I did it anyway. It would have a better effect if I was leaving them as bare metal. As you will see later on, that isn't the case. So once that's glued into place, I'm just using the cocktail stick in the centre, again just to centralise it, the same way that I roll my fingers around the outside of it, so that it's where it needs to be, and then a good squeeze just to get it located properly. So that's almost the first one done. There's one more piece to go on there yet, which I'm about to do now. So next layer of glue, and again, not loads of glue going down, it doesn't need it. So this is just a central ring that goes in there, and same again with the cocktail stick, just to locate it and centralise it, and then give it a good squeeze just to get it stuck down. So same process again now, just whiz through the other 4 discs to get them all done. Not really much to say at this point now, because I've just said it all. So it would have been nicer if the resin centre part was actually made so that it represented the cooling fins that you get inside real discs, but ultimately once the wheels are on, you're not ever going to see it, so it's just a very minor thing, that not really anything worth having a complaint about. So that's all 4 discs done. So now I can have a look at the next bit, which is the hubs that the wheels attach to. So I had a look at various ways of cutting these off, and ultimately decided the quickest and easiest just was to use some side cutters and just snip those off, and then once they're all cut off, then I can just sand the edges very lightly, because there's hardly anything there, and they're done. Ultimately, again, these aren't going to be seen when it's all painted and assembled, so it doesn't really matter if they're not perfect, but as modelers like to do things perfect where we can. So same again with the brake calipers, I just use my side cuts for these. It's a little bit neater as well, it creates less dust, so you haven't got as much of a problem. It's only with the sanding part of it. So now to an interesting point. The way that they've positioned that groove where the caliper lies, and I'm glad that I picked up on this at this point. The disc doesn't sit flat, so the way it's supposed to go is the disc goes in there and the other bit sits on the back of it, and it's supposed to all be flush like that. But when you put the caliper on and you line it up with that groove, there's a massive gap, and that would offset the wheels by, what's that, 2-3 millimeters, which is really not very good at all. And I know on some videos that I've seen of older models being built, this wasn't a problem because that groove or hole for the location for the caliper is in the correct position. So on mine it wasn't. I don't know whether it's an oversight on this particular kit, whether I just got a duff part, or what the score was. But for anyone building this, it's certainly something to look out for. And even if you're doing another one of their kits, I'd still say look out for it, because ultimately it's a problem that will have a massive consequence down the line. So as you can see, I'm still fiddling with it, trying to come up with a plan and an idea what I'm going to do, which I've just figured out at this point. So I'm just going to put a groove at the back of it to locate where it should be, if that shows up on camera, just about. And then I'm using a old photo etch scriber, which I've got. I say old, it's an old set, but it's a new blade, so it is very sharp. I tried doing this with the scalpel and I was having difficulty cutting it, but this made very short work of it, and then I was just able to tidy it up. So a few quick passes with that on the edges, and then I was straight through where I needed to be, and then I just picked that with a knife just to finish it off. So just doing that back edge now. So I was trying to be careful at this point that I don't actually slip and go all the way through, or do something stupid, or go through my finger, because that probably hurt, and I don't want to do that. So yeah, be careful if you're using something like this, especially when you start having to hack at things. So, and now I'm going a bit off camera because I'm trying to concentrate on what I'm doing and less on where the camera is and where I'm working, unfortunately. So I don't know how much of this you're actually going to see now, but I did start attempting to get those parts out. So I tried with the blade, and then I went to the scriber, and then I went back to the blade. So just very carefully, as you can see, because again I don't want to cut myself, I'm just guiding the knife through that and going at an angle, doing it a little bit at a time. It's a bit like chiselling in woodwork, if anybody's ever done that. A similar process, I suppose. So just a lot of hacking at the moment, and once I've got the bulk of it out, I can try and tidy it up a little bit. What I'm looking for as a final result on that is to have a smooth fit for the caliper, so the glue's got a lot to grab hold of, and so it's a nice flat area and in the right place. I don't want to go too deep so the caliper pushes too far in, because then it won't sit properly. I don't want it too far back, I don't want it too far forward, and obviously I need it deep enough. So it was a bit of a fine art, but I used initially the front locator that was in the wrong position as my guiding point for this knife for getting the middle part out. So I'll just whiz through the rest of this quickly. There you go, final bit done. So now the caliper sits where it should do. So if I don't drop it again, once I put the caliper in there and I put the disc in, if it goes in, it's always fun when you've got to fiddle around with things like this. So there you go, that's how it's supposed to sit. So disc flat with the hub and located in the caliper properly, and hopefully that will all be strong and work at the end. So now all that fun's out of the way, I'm going to look at the wheels. So Hobby Design, or Alpha Model as they are called for these kits, have put a hole there for a air valve, one of these. So I might as well use one of the Hobby Design ones as they make these kits. And I've also got these which are long out of production, but I managed to pick some up somewhere for the centre nuts, which I think will have a nice touch to it because there hasn't anything on this. So using a 3.3mm drill and pin vise, just whiz through all of these very quickly so that I've got somewhere to attach the air valves once everything's painted. So at the moment I'm going through prepping everything, and I will do a test fit as well, and do the centre lug nut locations as well, so I've got some holes for those to fit into. So quite a tedious job this. There's 4 wheels with 5 holes, so plus the air valves, so that's 24 holes to drill. So you don't want to watch all of that on camera, so again I skipped a few. So there you go, that's the 5 centre holes done for the lug nuts. So now I've got an air valve with the tweezers just to locate that and check that it fits properly. So that's how that's going to look, which I think will set the wheel off nicely. And again, because they've got a hole there, it makes sense to use it. And then this is the wheel nut out of the T2M set. So again, that is going to add a massive improvement, or make a massive improvement to the finished result, I think. So on to paint. Again, for the resin parts I'm using the 2-pack grey primer from Zero Paints. Anyone that's used this will know how good it is. Going down on resin, things like that, it sticks, it's not going anywhere, doesn't come off, sands nicely, perfect for this. So whiz through all of these quickly. So I've got fairly high pressure because I mixed it a little bit on the thick side, so you can see the paper towel is going a bit all over the place in the background, but I'm only getting light coats going down still, just to not lose any details and build the layers up. So do the edges. Most of this isn't going to be seen when it's finished, but I like to go around it all and do it all anyway, just so that if by any chance you do get to see any of it through a gap that I wasn't aware of, then it's not going to be a problem. So this bit certainly gets seen because you see that through the front grille. So I'm a little bit surprised that there's no photo etch piece to go on there, but there isn't. So now for the rear diffuser, which is a little bit of a complex shape because it's got all those holes in, and you've got the fins, and then you've got a gap between it, and you've just got to get paint in all of it and get it nice and smooth and not miss any bits, not get too big a blob anywhere. So again, nice smooth light coats is the way to go. So you can see I'm not paying too much attention to how quickly I'm building the layers up on it, because it's not going to have any impact on it. So brake calipers now, same process again, building up the layers. So just whiz through all of these now quickly. So for the wheels I'm using Zero Paint's metallic grey. So I wanted to go for something a little bit different. I didn't want silver because they're really common. I didn't want black, but I wanted something on the sort of darker side just to complement the carbon fibre trim that I put on. So I thought this would be a good option. So there's the finished wheel, or almost. So I think that looks quite smart. So onto the brakes. Carbon ceramic I'm using for this from the Zero Paints range. So hence saying I'm not sure whether the spinning of it on with the Dremel is going to make any difference or not. But we'll see when it's all painted up. So now all the painting's finished, I can move on to the main desk, and I'm going to actually assemble or attach all of those little metal pieces I showed you before. So I'm going to start off with the air valves, which are tiny little things that I keep in this little bag. So start off getting them out of the bag one at a time and carefully get it in my tweezers so that I can locate it where I want it, which is going to be in that hole there. So I'm just checking that it still fits after all the paint layers. So with the tweezers, I don't want to grip too tight that it pings out, and also I don't want to grip too loosely so that it drops out. So you've got to be careful with the pressure that you use on that. So a tiny drop of super glue and then in it goes. So there you go. And I think that sets it off perfectly. I've also clear coated these wheels with single lacquer, if anybody notices or cares. So here are the lug nuts, so I'm just putting all of those in a tub, so hopefully they don't get lost. There's 20 in a pack and I need 20, so I can't afford to lose any of these because I will be most upset, as I'm sure you can imagine. So there they all are in the tub. Quick count to make sure they're all there, and then again one at a time, keep the tub out of the way so it doesn't get knocked. Check the location that it's actually going to go where I want, and same again, just making sure they sit in the tweezers properly. Tiny dab of super glue. Right, nearly there on this wheel. Not the most interesting thing to watch, but some people I thought might be interested in watching this process. So I thought I would record it for those people. There you go. And that's them all done. Nicely in focus. And as I said, I think it just finishes the wheel off. So next bit is the centre parts. So again, I've opted to use these over the decals that come with the kit, even though there are decals for the wheels. I thought these they're a little bit nicer, and as I've got them, I might as well use them. So that's the first one going in there. Perfect, finishing touch. I have to say I do like the look of these wheels, they look smart. So there you go, that's the first wheel done, and that's all 4 wheels done, just like that. So again, didn't want to show you it all on camera, doing all of them, because then that would just be really boring and a really long video. So onto the tyres. Can use a Dremel or something for this. I've actually got quite coarse emery stick or nail file or whatever you want to call it. Don't know where they came from, never used them on my nails, but for tyres, for cars and motorbikes, they seem perfect. So there you go. These are quite hard tyres to scrub, but get there in the end. Like I said, some people spin them on the Dremel, some people do it by hand, personal preference. So on to fitting the tyres to the wheels. So fly through all of those. I always go in pushing the tyre on from the back of the wheel, just in case something happens, if the paint's got a problem. Not that it does, but if it does, you don't want to chip the front of your wheels. So I always go in from the back, just in case. Like I said, I've never had it happen, but I'd rather not risk it and chance it. So that's all 4 of those done. On to the brake calipers. So that tiny thing there is a bleed valve from RB Motion in the US. So again, I thought these would look good on these brake calipers, which as you can see I've painted all those up. Tiny fiddly things to try and get into place, but they will set them off. So you can see both of them on there now. So yeah, I wanted to use them for a while, and I thought this is the perfect opportunity to do that, because the wheels have got such big gaps between the spokes. You'll be able to see great through them. So yeah, there you go. That's all 4 of them done. So as you can see, I did a bit of detail painting on those calipers as well. Some of it might show through, some of it might not. So onto the rear diffuser. As you can see, painted with semi-gloss black, and then I've carbon fibered it and then clear coated it. So now I'm just attaching a bit of photo etch mesh to that, which goes on side. So I'm just running a bead of super glue just around the edge of that. I don't know whether this is actually seen once the model's complete or not, but it's in the instructions, so we'll go with it. So again, tiny bead of super glue just around the edge, a little bit on the corners and things, and all the rest of it, just so it's got enough to bite and grip where I want it and stay in place. And at least my super glue stick didn't land on my part then when it fell off, which wouldn't be fun. So carefully try and position that, which doesn't want to go where I want it. So a bit of fiddling, get it there in the end. So skip on to this one, which is around the exhausts. So again, these were carbon fibered, zero paints, semi-gloss black under that. So yeah, now for a bit of photo etch mesh just to go around the edge. So again, small bead of super glue around there, and then get the bit of photo etch. That was painted with the matte black. So just be careful if you're using metal tweezers like that you don't actually chip the paint, because then you're going to have to try and touch it up and it makes a mess. So just put it into the corners there, and then there we go. Right, onto these wheel hubs. And now we actually get to find out if my hard work in reshaping all of these pays off. So let's see how the calipers fit. So again, I'm using a reasonable amount of super glue, not loads, but I want these to stick, I don't want them coming off. So push that into place, give it a good squeeze, and then put it to the side to dry, and then move on with the next bunch. So 4 of these to go, and just like that, onto the last one. Again, good squeeze, and then put it to the side. So now they're done, I've fitted the rear discs into it, just lightly, loosely, just so I can attach these, I think the handbrake caliper part, oh, I'm assuming that's what they are. So they've got the centre piece that sits over the disc, so I just need to get those in place. So that was just a temporary thing. So now onto the final bit. I'll put some kitchen towel down so I can lay the bodywork upside down and not risk damaging anything. If there's a bit of glue or something on the bench, I don't want to damage the model. So to fit the hubs, I've mixed up some 2-part epoxy because I want to get a strong bond on this. So I decided rather than using super glue, I would use this and hope that it sticks. So I'm just going to whiz round 4 of these. So a bit of glue in the actual tunnel, and then I'm just putting some glue on the edge of this as well. So I'm using quite a lot of glue on this to hold it in place, because like I said, I don't want these going anywhere. I don't want the wheels falling off or these hubs falling out or anything stupid like that, because I don't know how strong they're going to be. It seems a bit of a weak joint to have everything weighing down on the wheels. So I just run around all 4 sides of this quickly. So not anything special than what I did a minute ago, just plenty of glue on the edges. Obviously make sure you get the orientation for the calipers in the right place. Also, these are in a kind of V shape, they're not totally square, so they do have a specific location for the side of it and orientation for the hubs themselves, so you need to make sure you get that right. So almost there, get that one in place, and then I think that's the final one going in place there. So there we go. Now that they're in place, move on to the rear section. So I'm going to start off putting some super glue in the hole there, and then I put a bead around the edge as well, just so that I get a decent bite to it, and then I can fit that first part. And then once that first side is done, I can then move on to the second side. So same again, glue in the centre where the location pin goes, and a bit of glue on the sides and the back edge, and then I can fit this one in. So once they're in place and the glue's dried, then I can move on to the diffuser. So sorry I keep going off camera, it's just sometimes difficult to see when there's a camera there and trying to see what's going on. So a bit of glue in the two holes there. I don't think this part needs loads of glue, it's not got any real strength to it, not got any weight to it, so it doesn't need a lot. So just put it in those two holes and then give it a good push down. So I'll just spin it around now so that I can get to the front section. So I put some glue down already, so I'm ready to just push that straight in. And I've test fitted all of these as they go in as well, so I know where they're going and that there's no problems. So zoom the camera out so I can do the next bit, and then just run loads of super glue around the edges. So you'll also notice that that front panel and this centre plate, when it goes down, I've not carbon fibred. With it being under the car and it being quite low down, I didn't see a lot of point to that, so I decided to skip that and just painted those black. They don't need anything more, don't need anything special, because they're unlikely to ever be seen. So the diffuser on the other hand will be seen because it raises up at the back, which is why I did those. So then I can move on to putting the discs in and whiz around quickly doing all of these, and then I could put the wheels on. So the other two wheels are already on that side, and then these two. And at the moment I've not glued those in, I've just dry fitted them, just in case something happens and I need to change anything. So there you go, that is the finished part for this video, and I think it looks stunning. The yellow with those dark wheels I think really set it off. So there you go, thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed it, and I shall see you next time.